Welcome to Becoming Fearless, the personal growth podcast for you if you are ready to overcome fear and step into your greatness. Our purpose is to help you overcome your limits, have loads of fun along the way, unlocking your fullest potential in life, business, health and relationships every single day. I'm your host, Charlotte Carter, a high-performance coach and entrepreneur with over 20 years experience. I've supported many highly driven, talented people like you who dream big and are ready to take action to overcome what's holding them back. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing hacks and habits on how to build self-belief, courage and confidence to master your mindset and navigate your emotions so that you can reach your human potential in a way that feels light, fun and easeful and helps you become fearless. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Becoming Fearless. This is a guest episode, and the person that I've got on today for this episode is somebody that's been in my world for a number of years. We have had some great laughs together, we've had some great conversations, and I'm excited to bring this episode out into your ears and to expand your mind about what's really possible about your story, your purpose, your visibility, your mission, your big impact in the world, and how you can create a bigger reach by just being yourself and being true to yourself. So my guest today is Nicola Rowley. Nick, do you want to introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks for having me here, Charlotte, first of all. So for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Nicola Rowley, and I help business owners and brands get visible safely, really importantly, safely in the media through strategic storytelling. And the reason that I do that is because I want you to be able to go on and have incredible impact and impact the lives of those that you can help through what it is that you do. And I am a firm believer that actually when we lift other people up and we take other people with us, that's when we can create an incredible ripple effect and change things for the better. So using storytelling to help yourself get seen in the media, getting yourself out there in a bigger way, and with 25 plus years having worked in the media as both a journalist and now a PR expert, I'm really well placed to be able to help you do that.
And Nick, I've worked with Nick on many occasions and got a lot of press through the stuff that Nick teaches, but let people know, let's just set the scene a little bit for the listeners. I want to talk today a little bit about fear with PR, and also I want to talk about your expertise, because there's lots of people out there, I've found, that will say that they're going to help people and promise people all these publications in different spaces, and some people get caught up in stuff and end up producing something that's not quite authentically them or not quite feels not aligned and just feels off and puts them in a really difficult situation. So I know that there's some people who listen, and I know there's been past clients of mine who've not had the greatest experience. And so I think coming from somebody like yourself, can you just set the scene about your journey, your story, and how you got into actually the world of PR so that people can start to see, that you know your stuff?
Yeah, of course. Well, it starts with journalism because it starts with storytelling. So it starts way back when I was 6, and I was sat in the classroom and the teacher said, right, you can write a story and you can write a story about whatever you want. And everyone went off and just was like, writing a few sentences. Except in that moment, as I was writing the story about a cat, a witch and a spaceship, something happened to me that I can't really explain. I started writing and I never wanted to stop. I had that moment, like when you speak to someone and they light up, they get really excited and really passionate about it. That was me, age 6. And the teacher had never seen anything like it. So she was just like, okay, carry on then. And 1,000 words later, this story, which was okay, first effort and all that. She looked at it and she was just like, you should be really proud of that. And she put it onto the wall. And then she said to me, Nicola, it is on the wall, but can we take it down for a day and then you go and read it to the whole school? And I didn't think anything of that. I know for some people that would be a very scary prospect, but I was just like, yeah, okay, bring it on. And so there was me standing up, reading my story out to everyone. And I discovered my second love, which was presenting and going out there and standing up and being in front of people, and telling them a story. And so it was a natural kind of progression that I wanted to become a journalist. So I studied journalism and sociology at university. And my first job, when I first went in to become a journalist, I was actually reading the news at a local radio station. I was very, very ambitious. I was very kind of like, right, okay, I'm only going to be here for a certain amount of time. Then I'm going to go to the next level. And then I'm going to London. And then once I've worked in London, then I'm going to national radio. And I pretty much did most of it. So by the time I was 25, I was reading the news on Radio 1 with Chris Moyles and Comedy Dave back in the day. And then I moved across into BBC, what was then BBC News 24. And I was producing, and then eventually I persuaded them that I needed to be in front of camera and doing things. And they said, well, if you can come up with stories of your own, absolutely, you can go off and do it. So I was just like, great. So I did all kinds of things. Like I went running with Steve Cram and ran a story that ran across the whole of the BBC network around cram tags. I did all these different reports, and I ended up, before I left the BBC, I was an entertainment reporter for BBC Three, and I used to occasionally get out onto red carpets and interview celebrities and go to film junkets and sit in front of people like Sir David Attenborough and Sir Richard Attenborough and people like that. Javier Bardem, like there were some incredible stars that I got to sit in front of and ask questions about the movies that they were doing. But I couldn't see me doing that until I was like, in my 40s or 50s. I just kind of thought, I'm not going to be sticking a microphone under Simon Cowell's nose. So I moved across into PR. I took redundancy from the BBC and I went across into PR, having never written a press release in my life, and went in there and they were like, okay, don't really know what to do with you, but we'll pop you into this team. And this team is probably more news focused. So we think that's where you'll fit quite well. And the agency itself was like an entertainment agency, really, really well known, like multi-award winning agency. And there were some incredible characters in the agency. And I worked there. But the thing was, because I could see what journalists wanted and I understood what journalists wanted, all of a sudden we were getting our clients that, were just coming to us for a little pro bono work. I was getting them onto BBC World Service and BBC World, and they're like, how are you doing this? What's going on? And it soon became really apparent that I knew what I was doing. And my biggest client at the time was UK TV, and I was overseeing the press office for the Edinburgh TV Festival one year. And I went up to the then head of publicity at UK TV and I said, look, I've got you another double page spread. What's it like working in-house? And she just looked at me and she went, oh my God, I've got a job. Oh my God, it's yours. And that was my interview. And so I ended up working in-house, which I loved. I was there for 6 years before I then had Jay, my son. And then I went off and went back to the BBC, funnily enough, ended up back working internationally for BBC Worldwide as it was then. It's now BBC Studios. And I was doing all kinds of things. Like I was looking after Central and Eastern Europe, the Middle East and Africa. And like within 2 weeks, I'm on a racetrack, like making sure that the Stig is going around for Top Gear, making sure that his identity never comes out and all the rest of it. It was just like this kind of crazy journey that I was on. And eventually, when that contract ended, I landed a job at Thorpe Park and I was the head of PR there. And I knew it was only going to be a year, but it was an amazing year and I loved every single second of it. But at the end of it, Jay was starting primary school and I wanted to be the mum on the school gates. I wanted to be able to be there for him as much as possible. So I quit my job and I threw myself into what was then my photography business because I'd also trained at the same time to be a professional photographer. And I thought that was the way to be able to combine the photography, do a little bit of freelance PR on the side, but mainly concentrate on the photography. And I got a little bit, well, let's just say within that first few months, I realized that it was never going to work. I had 25 weddings booked that year and I did every single one of them. But I think I got some of my ideal clients wrong. I think that's the nicest way to put it. And then when I was starting to do some other PR projects, I realized actually, do you know what? Maybe I should just set up by myself. And it took a really big nudge from my then business coach to say, Nicola, just set up by yourself. This is how you do it. This is what you need to do. And then it has just taken off since then. And I set up the business in March 2019, and it's gone from strength to strength since then.
Thank you so much for giving that hugely inspirational background, so the listeners can start to get a feel for, you're not in your 20s. You're not just showing up with, straight after out of uni, fresh face in any way. The experience that you have is just very, very detailed and very deep. So there will have been lots of stages along that journey where you will have felt fear, I am sure, when you've packed things in, when you've gone into new things. But you're a real action taker, aren't you? There's a real inner drive and a real determination to make a big impact for both yourself, your family, and then for other people. It's like within your heart. So one of the things that I want to talk about in terms of feeling fear and feeling it in your heart in terms of PR, I want to just touch a little bit about my story. So my story, when Nick and I first met, Nick said, it'd be great to get you some PR in a very gentle way. And I was like, I've just got to do 1,000,001 other things. But yeah, I hear you. And I wasn't batting it off, but I was full of fear, not necessarily understanding that was what was going on. It was a bit like, here's my list of 10 things and PR is probably number 7. I hadn't necessarily put it in the priority that it actually justified, to be fair. And so I was navigating through a lot of fear, working out things, working out on myself, working out all the business parts, bits and pieces. And then when it came to doing the PR, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I got into what I'm now calling my I'm ready energy. And the first thing that I went to was one of your in-person PR 6-pack events down in London. And I had started working a lot on my energy then. So I started working a lot on manifesting different things. And I thought, I'm just going to give it a go. And Nick had said, there's going to be Hello online there. And there's going to be some other places. So, it'd be great for you to just see, talk about what we've talked about and see what comes up. And so I went in with that energy, but I also went in with the energy of, I'm going to get in Hello online. That's what I'm going to do. And so I went there, and that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. Nick runs these great events where you can go for an evening and you can actually meet face-to-face. There's also an online version. You can meet face-to-face with the actual journalists that are then creating their PR articles in whatever publications they are. And it's very, very impactful, and it's very, very straightforward. And it's just like a bit of an evening out for the person who's going along. And I think that's where I broke my fear. I was like, okay, well, it's fairly easy. And I think part of the way that you work with people is around this nurturing, supportive, it is your right time. But there's also a bit similar to me with this gut punch growth part where it's like, well, you can hang around in this supportive place if you want, but if you really want to get great impact, then you really do need to take action, and you really need to put yourself out there and overcome your fear. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people want to be seen. Sometimes people think that PR is it's a kind of like, oh, it's putting a spotlight on me. And I feel very uncomfortable about that. It scares me to have that spotlight on me. But what we always need to remember is that it's never about us. It never is about us. It's always about the other people that can then find you through what it is that you do, so that then you can go on and help them and make a difference to their lives. And I think too much of the PR industry is very much built around, let's get everyone visible, let's build that awareness, let's do all of the things, without realizing the impact, the human element behind actually what we're doing, which is storytelling. And I've had a real issue with the PR industry for a long time. There are people, it tends to attract a certain type of people, shall we say? And I don't think that there's that empathy, that real kind of nurturing, let's look after people, let's make sure that they're safe, and getting their message across in the right way that needs to happen. Sure, of course, there are so many people, especially in the online space, that are kind of like, oh, I'm a PR and I can get you loads of coverage and everything else. But if you ask any of those people, right, what would happen in a crisis? Do you look after crisis communications? They all run for the hills. All of them run for the hills. And yet reputational management is such a fundamental part of PR and what it's all about. And it's as much as about keeping things out of the media as getting them into the media. And until you can find someone that can actually do both, you need to be really, really careful and really look into someone's credibility and their previous things that they've actually done. Because, yeah, they might have, a few good contacts, or they might be able to get you into a few places. But what happens if for any reason a journalist decides to spin a story in a different way? Can they get the headlines changed? Can they change the context of the piece? Can they go back and get something completely removed? And I've had that happen before now. So I was working with the lovely chaps at the Mary Rose, and the museum is beautiful, and it's they're just so fabulous, and I love working with the team. And I was working with them, and I'd gone to a contact and I'd said, look, we're doing a big launch. It was all around their 1545 exhibition, and I was just like, it'd be really great if we could get this out there. And they passed it on to their local kind of like person that would work across similar kind of things to them in that specific area. And for whatever reason, that person passed it on to a trainee who felt like they had something to prove. So they decided to write a really unflattering story about one of like the UK's best loved museums and attractions, and it was awful. And it got printed in the Daily Star, and it was up on Hampshire Live. And the CEO of the Mary Rose Museum rang me and said, Nick, this is run. And I was like, okay, don't worry, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Did they approach you for comment? And they had. And unfortunately, at that time, no one had actually flagged to me that had happened. Because if a journalist ever asks you, can you pass a comment on this? You need to go back to them straight away. It's not something you can sit on, because otherwise they will just run a line that says no one was available for comment. So that had happened behind the scenes. And obviously I was brought in, then Nick, mend this. And I did. Like within a very short space of time, the entire online article was taken down. A really lovely article went up in its place and completely changed it. And this isn't a one-off thing where this has happened. I've worked with people where they've been working with celebrities and they've had like a big photo shoot, and an image that they haven't wanted used has somehow leaked through to the newsroom, and they've used this image. And the celebrity in question's getting really upset about, oh my gosh, this image is being used and I really didn't want that out there. I've got it taken down within 20 minutes. And then the celebrity's like, well, how does she do that? Like, how did that work? How does that happen? But it's understanding how everything fits together. And because when you work at theme parks and things like that, where things do tend to go wrong, you very quickly understand how to work in crisis communications, and you understand best practice. I've had training from the best in the business in terms of crisis communication. So I know exactly the steps to take, how to make things fit together, how to make it all work. And because of that, it it just seamlessly kind of comes together. But if you are feeling nervous, if you are feeling scared about PR, about putting yourself forward, please just always remember that it isn't about you. It really is so important to get your message across in terms of how you can help others. And I think once we understand that, it literally will change everything. I know it changed everything for me. It made me kind of feel, oh, okay, I like PR now because it's enabling me to help others tell their stories in as safe a way as possible.
And I think one of the skills that you have is this like wonderful blend of strategy and relationships. So the strategy, and I can only talk from my personal experience, the strategy that you and I have and the angles that I take for me to be able to get the opportunities that I have, I wouldn't have known how to do that. I wouldn't have known what angle to take. I would have just like spoken from maybe a completely different standpoint that wouldn't have landed at all. So I think the strategy of actually honing what it is that I personally have and whatever your clients have and bringing that out, and then this whole longevity, sustainability of the relationships that you've built for years and that you encourage all your clients to build along the way, and the opportunities that you encourage us to seek and see, and be brave enough to have a conversation about and start that relationship. I think that's a really key part of how I moved from being fearful, and my goodness, what am I going to do, to getting in Hello, to getting in Metro, to getting in some other opportunities that are coming my way, and to feeling like it's actually quite light and playful and quite easeful now, because I have this kind of loose framework. I also know that I'm quite evolving and new things will come out, but now it feels much more easy and there's a greater reach. And I think you help people find the different angles so that you end up reaching a wider network of people, because you've got 5, 10, 15 different angles or more that you know, because of your experience, that they're going to be picked up by different publications.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is something else to be said, that a lot of, what people might think of, like, someone that works in PR, their power is the fact that they have these relationships. I don't believe in squashing those relationships and keeping them to myself. A lot of people in PR will do that, but I actually think it's far better to connect other people to those journalists and bring everyone together. I mean, recently we've just held Impact Live, my big event that we've done. And again, that was all about bringing people together, being able to get journalists together in the room with other entrepreneurs so that you can actually have those conversations. And it may well be that journalists will say, oh, hang on a second, your story sounds really exciting and it might be something that we'd like to feature. Well, then great, because then the people that you're helping, you're then able to go on and impact them in a way that you might otherwise not be able to do. But it's always, I mean, you have to remember that journalists think in stories. So they deal with stories, and we all deal with stories. So even if you're not thinking about securing PR for yourself, securing media coverage, but you're thinking, I want to connect more with my audience, I want them to resonate with me, talk to them, tell them a story. Like, there will be so many things that you can do. And the more that we do that, the more that we share stories, the more people start trusting us. And we all hear about the know, like, and trust factor and how important that actually is. Well, the biggest part of that is trust. And if you can build trust, then people will then follow you, like you, and then they will want to work with you eventually. So it becomes a full circle thing, but you're also helping them through what it is that you do.
So we could talk for ages, but what are the ways that people can work with you, and how can people get in touch with you? All of this will be in the show notes, but what's the sort of offers that you have for people if people have been listening and like how you explain things, like all your experience and your expertise, and want to find out more? Where's the best place to guide them, and what offers do you have?
You can always reach me, nicola@njrpr.com. The website, nicolarowley.com. We also have an events arm. Charlotte talks about the PR six-pack events and the events that we run. Impact Live has just run, and that was one of the events that we run. And that is PR sixpackmediaevents.com. And then we've got an agency arm as well, which is njrpr.com for our corporate clients as well. But you can always find me on Instagram. And Instagram at Nicola J. Rowley PR is always like, and I answer my own DMs. I'm not the sort of person that's kind of like passing it off to someone else. I'm always on there. Usually dancing with the dog, like PR dog, he gets in there in the action. And funnily enough, all of the reels that feature him seem to do very, very well.
Yes, there's always an element with the old cockapoos, isn't there, or any type of dog that you have. PR dog is quite famous, I think, in the business. He's like a business partner.
Absolutely brilliant. I love him. And I think what was really interesting, you and I went along to an event like the other month, and there were people saying, so he's called PR dog. And I was just like, no, his name's Rufus. But they actually thought, because I talk about PR dog, they were just kind of like, oh, PR dog. But again, when I tell stories around what he's been up to or what he's been doing or all of these kind of things, it's storytelling. It's taking people on a journey with you so they get to know you more. And, you know, I've had people say to me, oh, you know what, Nicola, because you love your dog so much, I want to come and work with you. Like, you know, I saw you cuddling your dog the other day. You're the sort of person that I really like. And that's the thing, isn't it? Without you even realizing it, what you're doing is you're showing people a snapshot of you. You're telling a story, whether that's visually or through words or whatever way it is. And then people are then connecting with you. They resonate with you. Maybe they've got a dog, or maybe they just like the way that you are with your dog. And then it translates. And I've lost count of the number of people that have said to me, they've either read my book, The Power of PR, or they have listened to the audio version, and then they've wanted to work with me, not because they've read all of the information that's gone on throughout the book. It's the opening part where I tell my story, and they all resonate with that. And that has led so many people to me, because when we tell our stories, and remember, you only have to share the parts of it that you want to share. But when we tell our stories in a safe way, that's when people can get to know us better.
And your stories, everybody's stories are so powerful. And there's an element, I think, of for anyone listening, that if you feel like, well, reach out to Nick if you feel like your story is something that you like. I just don't even know where to start, because Nick can help with that. But if you're ready and you're like, okay, I want to create in front of some more people, again, Nick can help with that. But I remember for me personally, it was like, well, I don't know what my story is. And then it's like, well, it could be this, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I try to analyze it all myself. I try to find all the answers myself. And that just doesn't work for a number of reasons, because you're putting your own spin on it. You're not necessarily leading from your heart. And somebody with Nick's experience and strategic knowledge will go, well, this is what they're looking for. Let's work out whether it feels safe, whether you feel ready, and whether you're able to share this in different guises to be able to reach more and more people. So, like I said, we could talk again. I'm sure there will be another episode coming on where we'll talk about something slightly different. But for today, thank you so much. I just want to ask you the same question that I ask everybody else, in terms of what's a book that has helped you navigate your life, your business, fear, anything really that's been able to help you grow and get to the place that you are in today.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the book you recommended, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And this book had such a profound effect on me. I still listen to it on repeat over and over again whilst I'm out walking the dog. And I think, I mean, apart from the fact that he has the loveliest, smoothest voice ever, it's really good to listen to. It's just, there's so much sense. And I realize, and I have identified as a result, that there have been moments where, I've reached an upper limit, or I've done something that I've then held back, or some major success has come, and then I've kind of gone, I'm not sure about that. So let's just play a little bit safer. And I'm all about seeing what is possible and exploring the possibilities and thinking as big as possible. And a lot of people will say, when they get on a call with me in any shape or form, when they sit down, they say, right, I'm doing X, Y, Z. And I've been having lots and lots of calls with people that have been writing books. And they sit there and they go, right, so I'm going to be doing this and it's going to be like this. And I'm like, okay, I've just had an idea. What about this? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, make it really big. Let's go next level. Let's look at this and look at that and look at this. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that, because I love that expansive energy, being able to look at things in a much bigger way, and then just realizing anything is possible for us. We can achieve anything. We just have to go out there and do it. And if that means just feeling a little bit uncomfortable, so be it. Just go with that and keep going until you get to the other side, because when you get to the other side, some incredible things are going to happen. And that, when you're ever faced with any media opportunities, interviews, anything else, other opportunities start coming your way. So it's about saying yes and then working out the next steps to be able to make that a success for you. So whenever you do anything, it's about, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to take a leap.
For certain. And I think that's a great place to finish. And I think having that energy of courage, bravery, and safety and momentum, so that actually when you keep taking those small steps, before you know it, you will have your article in Hello Online, you've got other opportunities coming, and all sorts of things come in your awareness and in your energy that are up for grabs, and it's up to you whether you're going to take the leap. So thank you so, so much. I have loved chatting with you. Please, we will put underneath all of the show notes and everything so you can get a hold of Nick, but please go and follow her. Reach out to her if you want to have any questions, just a conversation with her. I'm sure she will be open for all of that. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy lady. I appreciate your time.
Oh, it's been great being here. Thank you, Charlotte.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I hope that you're feeling energized, fearless, and inspired to take action today to stand in your greatness. I share even more tools and resources on my I Dare to Leap email newsletter. By signing up, you not only get early access to the I Dare to Leap products and services, but you also get brand new podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Monday, meaning you'll never miss your weekly dose of becoming fearless energy. Sign up now at www.idaretoleap.com/newsletter or click the link in the show notes below.